Hey everyone, One Big Boss here. As you can tell by the title of the video that you clicked on, we're back for another episode of New to Retro Reviews, and today we're reviewing an old game. Yeah, this is kind of going back to the past with this one, and, well, let's face it, you all know Sonic the Hedgehog. Much like Mario, he's seen a lot of success over the years with his high-speed action in games, but unlike Mario, well, he's hit a lot of potholes during those transitions from the 2D era over to the 3D. Wasn't always the smoothest run for the blue hedgehog either. We've seen where Sonic has gone over the years, some good, some great, and others, some, yeah. But that's where we come across Sonic R, a game that many, including myself, have a lot of issues. But does it deserve all the hate that it gets? Was this truly the beginning of bad luck for Sonic? Let's find out as we review today's game, Sonic R, for the Sega Saturn. So, how did this game come to be? What made Sega go, you know, Sonic needs a racing game? It probably was the success of Mario Kart, because let's face it, the original Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo was a great game, and one that I'm actually looking forward to reviewing here on the channel at some point. When it came time for this game to be a thing, it actually didn't start out as a Sonic game, but a Formula One racing game. And we know that's not the case. Now, it didn't stay that way, because a lot of the times when you do these kind of games, they do tend to change over time. And the team that was tasked to do this was called Traveler's Tales, and you might remember them from some of the games that they've done out there, some of the ones that I actually really enjoy myself. They went on to remake the game from the engine that they originally started with, to create Sonic R, which was at one point called Sonic TT, the TT being a nod to the company itself, working on the game and all that jazz, but eventually they wanted to put more terminology into it with things like time trials and tourist trophies. It's kind of the way that they went around it. But eventually, obviously, that did not hold, and it became the game title that we know today, Sonic R. While this was all being done, Traveler's Tales would take the sketches from the racing courses that were designed by Team Sonic themselves and convert it over into 3D models. Impressive as it was, much like most development teams, they had ideas to add more polygons to the characters, but this would go on to affect the performance of the game, so they had to be altered. Because let's face it, Sega Saturn and the PS1, they were powerful, but this was still, I feel, uncharted territories for a lot of companies at the time when it came time to developing 3D games. You know, things like Knuckles having to change different shoe colors, Tails not having his whiskers or his hair, and other characters being changed along the way. I think Eggman was supposed to have some kind of claw weapon instead of what he eventually got at the end of the day. Multiple prototypes were made by the team over the time of the development, and one of the builds for the E3 1997 show somehow got leaked to the press, and while certain pictures give off a rough look of what the game's early stages looked like, it showed us just where the game began and what it would end up looking like upon completion. And honestly, with a lot of prototype games, I feel this one still kind of resembled what it looked like originally, with just a little bit more polish. That's the way that I personally see how this was handled. The story to the game isn't really explained itself when you're actually playing it. Just from playing it, you just seem to be racing around, trying to get to first place and unlock everything that's in each level. That's really about it. I don't think a lot of racing games put much time and effort into a story, but there actually is one to this if you look at the guide. It's really just Dr. Robotnik once again trying to find all the Chaos Emeralds, and Sonic and his friends are all joining the race for various reasons. Sonic and Tails were on an adventure, or kind of a vacation, honestly, after beating Dr. Robotnik, and while Sonic didn't want to enter the race, Tails did because he wanted to test himself. Obviously, with Eggman showing up, Amy and Knuckles saw it, and as did Sonic, so everybody joins in to figure out what he's up to and to save the day. Yeah, again, maybe they wanted to put a story mode into this. Maybe I couldn't find anything on that. But to be honest, at the end of the day, probably didn't really need one. But it is nice to see that they had a pretty good story. If you look that up and everything, for back in the day, this was kind of a simple story, but something that I think would have gotten a lot of people interested because, again, Robotnik's always up to something, right? Gameplay for this might be a bit different if you were a Mario Kart fan or just a racing fan in general. But overall, it is a racing game at its core, and it sets out to do what it's supposed to do. Race around the course 3 times, get into first, and find the hidden items, beat the game. Although I think that this game was, well, it takes you in a bit of detour in the right way. Throughout the levels, you'll see what seems to be alternate paths to take, where unlike the original Mario Kart, you are, for the most part, on a straight track, where in this game, the 3D environments take you all over, having to explore to find hidden areas and items and different ways to beat out the opponent, or skip going by loops, maybe jumping over the rivers or onto the ice to get to certain areas, or Instead of taking that one left path, you go all the way right and you find a hidden one. That was kind of the charm of this game, I feel, when they were showing it off, at least back then, and from what I played as a kid. You'll notice for the most part, the gameplay has a very rough learning curve and is somewhat pretty cruel at times. I know this was during an era, again, where gaming, 3D development, it was really hard for people back then, especially if they worked on things like the Genesis and the Super Nintendo that didn't really delve into the 3D realm like this. I mean, you know, obviously there was the thing like the Mode 7 on the Super Nintendo, and there were really cool 3D stuff happening on the Sega Genesis back in the day. But when it came right down to it, I feel like at the time, other games did it very well, and well, I think they did it better, like Crash Bandicoot, Resident Evil, and even Mario 64 did well with the controlling. And honestly, the controlling of this game, it's gonna take some getting used to, but more on that later. The main goal is to collect as many rings as you can to take advantage of the speed boosters or the tunnels that give you access to either shortcuts, Sonic coins, or the Chaos Emeralds that are in every level. The team did a great job at making these areas feel like they are from the world of Sonic the Hedgehog. Honestly, gotta love that. Although I feel the final raceway is kind of a nod to Mario Kart's Rainbow Road. Bit more extravagant, bit more radiant, if you will. But the levels have springs from the Sonic the Hedgehog games to bounce onto, paths to find, and water to traverse over. Some characters can easily hover over the water, and during the weather changes, which this game has, any snow levels will freeze all the water around you, making it runnable for any characters. And to be honest, they go about playing this game and the things you find and locate, I kind of want to play on the snow levels the most. Each level has 3 laps and gives you time to explore which path is best or where items are located. Sonic coins need to be found in order to unlock the secret races of the game, and the Chaos Emeralds will eventually unlock the Broken Tier character that, well, yeah, Broken Tier. A little bit more on that later, though. Every level but the first one has 2 Chaos Emeralds that you must find and place in first in order to get said Chaos Emerald, which in certain levels, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, it is definitely not easy, especially with certain characters, and even with the right characters at times, it feels like a hassle trying to get these. The game has a total of 4 default characters, 1 unlockable for beating the game, and 5 secret characters. Each one has their own stats and abilities to get you through a race. Or, well, they'll try to get you through the race anyway. Trust me, some of these characters, you're gonna break your controller trying to get to do anything with them. I'm serious about this, a little bit more on that later, but here are the characters. Sonic being the fastest of the defaults, you'd think he'd be the all-around character like Mario and Luigi, but sadly, he's not. As you can tell from his stats, turning can lead you right into the drink or walls if you're not careful. But to counter this, he does have a double jump that actually helps save the day and can get you through the level pretty easily. Tails' stats are pretty good for the most part, aside from having average speed. His flying ability helps you somewhat, but I found it to not work as well when it came to turns and sometimes getting stuck on invisible areas that you couldn't see. Now, you can back the camera out a little bit to help fix that, but even still, as Tails, I found myself crashing into a lot of areas. Knuckles is an all-around character, believe it or not. Yeah, this guy can do it all and has his trademark glide move. Sadly, much like with Tails, there could be a pillar far below you, one that you can't even see, and you will hit that because of the invisible area. So gliding with Knuckles can be tricky, can't stick to walls, and you really can't see if you jump from high areas, so kind of got to learn a level really well and when to glide and when to pray. Amy Rose is here, and well, I feel we should just give her some kind of participation trophy for this. she's literally got no jump ability whatsoever, no weapons, and her turbo boost that refills after a while, and the ability to have her car transform into a hover car to go over the water, pretty cool. But aside from excellent acceleration, everything else on her is just terrible. I mean, honestly, you really can't get much use out of her as a character. There really isn't a lot of redeeming qualities for her, and I think many people are just gonna skip over her because to do anything in this game, you can play any character you want, so it's not like you actually have to play any of these characters. Dr. Robotnik is playable, and turning with the big Eggman and acceleration is actually pretty good. You can adjust him pretty quickly on that. But his homing missile attack is just kinda pathetic. I fired off 2 shots before. I watched the bombs fly at enemies, and they missed. They just completely missed. And even when you hit somebody with them, I feel like it aids them more than it does harm. They don't even lose any rings, which you'd think being a Sonic game, you would lose rings by hitting an enemy, right? Isn't that how it works? But Dr. Robotnik is just kind of terrible. He just swings back and forth in that pod, and I think he might be stuck in it. I don't know, but he's kind of a useless character, honestly. Almost as much as Amy. Well, I think Amy's actually a little bit worse than he is. Metal Sonic returns, and I feel they should have made his stats, well, rival Sonic's somewhat, or given him a cool power, but all he really does is just hover and go over water, but if he slows down, he'll drop right in the drink and rust. Honestly, guys, you're probably not going to be playing Metal Sonic a lot in this game. I'm going to tell you that right now. The Tails doll. This cursed thing was, I swear to God, the original creepypasta or something. But with some slight trade-offs. He's always floating, and he just has that soulless look in his eyes. Legit, just play his Tails and leave this fucking cursed doll thing alone, man. But don't even bother with this thing. I mean, this thing it even creeps me out with it. Just creepy, man. And no other game after. But other than that, he's probably the best character in the game before a certain other character breaks into it. With stats similar to how our fleshy echidna counterpart is, well, Metal Knuckles just edges by. This is one of those ones that you'll probably use the most. Again, his gliding ability, much like Knuckles, it's fine, but you can run into trouble with it too. So again, learn the levels a little bit more the best you can with this game, because again, it's not easy to navigate them. But yeah, Metal Knuckles, he's probably going to be your ace in the hole for the longest time. Egg Robo. Okay. He might seem good stat-wise, but not having that jump really, really, really hurts you in this game. And I think it hurts him more than it does any of the other characters that don't have a jump. And his missile attack is the same as Robotnik's. It's completely useless. It doesn't do anything. He's legit the Amy of the special characters that you unlock in this game. And Super Sonic, the final character who just cannot be beat. This guy just ate all the Chaos Emeralds and does circles around all the other characters. Now, you'll never actually be able to race the original characters once you choose Super Sonic. You're going to be up against all the unlockable characters, but even then, that doesn't really make that much of a difference because Super Sonic just flies so fast around the track, man. He's literally an unstoppable character. Maybe that's the whole point of his character of being in this game. I feel that if you didn't include Super Sonic, you probably would have been fine at this point, but hey, what do I know? I'm not a developer, right? So with like any game, there's the good and the bad. So let's check this game out and see what it has to offer in terms of it being good, being bad, and what is the overall experience of this, and how does it affect everything? Well, with like most games, there's the good and then there's the bad. So that's what we're going to be talking about right now because, well, let's face it, I wouldn't be much of a reviewer if I didn't say what was good about the game and what was bad. So, what's good? A game that universally gets trashed by fans. Well, I mean, the levels are nice for the most part anyway. The city level can get really, really annoying due to the layout and such. But if you really look at this level and you try to collect the coins and the Chaos Emeralds and try to actually win this level, it is a nightmare on how it controls. I mean, everything is just so enclosed around you. I get it. It's a city. It's supposed to feel like that, right? But it just doesn't trade off well enough in this game, in my personal opinion. This is something that I think that they could have done a little bit better. And honestly, I feel the Ruins level is kind of like this in certain parts of it. Not all of it, but for a couple parts, it really can mess you up pretty bad. And, well, I did kind of mention some bad. Is that really all the good? The levels are short, but satisfying? Yeah? Yes, that's really all the good for this game, so might as well talk about the bad because there's quite a lot of that here right now. Look, I try to do what I can to find balance, but overall, Sonic R is a really bad game at times. The controls for this will make you just go insane. You'll take your time to adjust at some point, at least I hope, and you're going to be like those old Looney Tunes characters when trying to play this game that you're slip-sliding all over the floor. It's really bad at times, and when you're trying to get those Chaos Emeralds in secret areas, when you are going at high speeds, objects will impede your view, or when you're racing to an area that shot out a Chaos Emerald, you could miss it completely, have to turn around, which there is no quick turn in this, and trying to do this at all feels like you're turning in cement that's already like 75% frozen your feet, okay? And to get that item that you missed, it's pretty much going to cost you the race. You're not going to be able to catch up in time to make a difference to win that Chaos Emerald that went by you. It's sad to say, honestly. This is what I feel makes people kind of frustrated with this game. You're better off just hitting the reset button if you miss that. Also, I don't know why Dr. Robotnik was a playable character in terms of being unlockable. He should have been playable at first. You unlock him by beating the game, and he's a terrible character. Compared to Sonic and Tails and Knuckles, he's like the second worst character next to Amy. He's just incredibly horrible. I don't know why they did this. And, well, I guess the other bad thing about this game is too, it's incredibly short. I mean, there's not much of a challenge to this game other than the bad controls that make it frustrating to play. That's kind of a problem. That's not good game design. That's bad. You know, I feel that this is one of those games that you would get on a weekend rental at Blockbuster. You'd beat it in 2 nights, or if the controls didn't frustrate you enough to call it quits, you know, then you'd probably be able to beat it a lot sooner. I don't know. But what's worse is, about all of this is the only mainline Sonic game we got for the Sega Saturn. Yeah, no, trust me, it is. Sonic 3D Blast doesn't count because that was a port. And Sonic Jam, well, I don't know what Sonic Jam was. That's literally just Sonic Jam. And honestly, this game feels like it controls like Sonic 3D Blast, only worse at times. And oh god, don't get me started. I've tried to play Sonic 3D Blast for years, and I just could not do it. And really, honestly, at the end of the day, folks, with having ripped this game 2 new holes, I'm going to be even more brutally honest here with y'all like I always am.
Look out, guys, here it comes.
I fucking love this game. Yeah, I know, it's a super guilty pleasure of mine. And to be honest, I'm not going to stand here and say the game's amazing and you have to go out and buy it right now. Believe me, you do not want to do that. Do not even go look at what is on eBay and what this is going for, because I'll probably put it up on the screen at some point. But I think it's really the nostalgia of this game, the fond memories I have of it. I discovered it at my cousin's house years ago because he was the only one I knew who had a Sega Saturn at the time. And, you know, it being 9-10 years old when this game came out, kind of easily impressed. Who wasn't back then, right? But a few years later at Staples, I saw the rack of CD-ROM games that they sold. Remember when that was a thing? And one of them had Sonic R, and I had actually bought Sonic CD and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, there was another CD of them. I'll try to find some photos and put them up here, but they had those there as well, and I had already bought them. And my dad got me Sonic R, and of course I went home, popped it into my PC, and I had to learn how to play this with a keyboard, ladies and gentlemen. I played with one of these. Okay, now I know for a lot of people that's fine. Like, a lot of people grew up playing PC games without a controller. And me being a dumbass when I was younger, I didn't know that you could actually get controllers for a PC. I didn't know that. It wasn't until a few years later that I discovered that. But I learned how to play this game, and my fingers ended up looking like that SpongeBob thing where all of his fingers are broken. That's what my fingers felt like after playing this game and learning it on the PC. It was not easy at all to do it because of the controls, the turning. I still don't know how I 100%ed that, but I know it took me some time to do that. It was on my old Windows Millennium PC back in the day, like Windows Millennium 2000, and oh god, like it destroyed my fingers, it destroyed my patience. And I still love the game. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I really did like this game when it came out, and when I had to record the footage for this here, I had a blast playing it all over again. I will say the biggest reason for my love of this game, at least the reason I think it is the music. The soundtrack composed by Richard Jacques from Sega Europe and TJ Davis providing the vocals, with producer Yuji Naka actually saying, hey, pretty good, let's have TJ do all the vocals, and she did. She literally was in all the vocals of the game. And the funny thing of it is, you can kind of count on that with a Sonic game, I feel. No matter how bad the game is, the music from it is legendary. Or at least really good in some aspect of it. I would love to show you guys, or, you know, let you hear some of the music, but unfortunately, because of how bad YouTube is, I could literally put up a 4-second music clip of these songs, and I'll get striked like that. Or the whole video could be taken down. I don't know. But honestly, go listen to them because the songs are absolutely incredible. Can You Feel the Sunshine is obviously the most known one and has been covered by a lot of YouTubers. And obviously, I have to say this. Go listen to Little V's cover of it because it's absolutely incredible. Okay. But if you need other recommendations, obviously, I'm going to recommend Can You Feel the Sunshine? That's a really good one, but my personal favorite is Back in Time. I don't know what it is about that, but it literally kind of takes me back to that time when I was on the bus to school and I had a CD player. I was going to school and I had that music with me because I don't know how I figured it out. I think it was maybe, actually, wait, no, I do remember how I figured this out. Holy crap. So when you would obviously put a CD back in your computer in the old days, you had like the Windows Media Player or whatever it was. When that was in there, and I wasn't playing the game, I loaded it up because I would always have like some kind of music on my computer, like gaming ones and stuff. I remembered there was an option to check the CD drive and it said Sonic R and it showed all the music, and I was jamming to those things all the time. So I figured, hey, if it works on a PC, maybe it works on my CD player. God, kids have it so easy these days. Now they got like headless earphones and stuff. Like, we had to take those giant CD players and stuff them in our pocket and hope they didn't get stuck, and hopefully the CD didn't skip or anything. But I listened to those songs so much back in the day in junior high. I'm actually shocked that the disc still works probably to this day. I mean, I did take care of the disc and everything, but man, what a trip. Those songs literally brought me back in time when I listened to them still to this day. And, well, just absolutely amazing. Like I said, this game, you won't be going out and buying the Sega Saturn version anytime soon unless you're some kind of collector like me, or someone who's insane and wants to spend almost $300 on a Sega Saturn game, which, to be fair, a lot of the Sega Saturn games I have now, they're worth $200 and above, because I don't know why. I guess because they didn't sell a lot back then. But like I said, there is just a lot of joy that I have personally in this game. I think a lot of people, anybody else that plays it, will probably not get the same joy that I get. Maybe they'll just get more frustrated than anything else. But if you do want to play this in some way, shape, or form, go out and get the Sonic Gems collection. That came out back on the GameCube and PS2 back in 2005. Oh my god, I was still in high school by then. Holy crap. God damn. But if you really want to play this game, that's the way that you guys can go out and do it, because I still like Sonic R. Can't speak for everybody, but it's a guilty pleasure. And sometimes when I play this game, hear that music, it takes me back to the early 2000s, the late 90s, a time where I kind of wish I was now. And I think a lot of us kind of want to go back in time, and I think these songs can help us relate. Well, that's it, folks. That's the review for Sonic R. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of this game, if you've played this title, or if I've inspired you to actually go check it out. If anything, like I said, please go check the soundtrack out. It's absolutely amazing. So with that being said, please thumbs up and subscribe, because it's free. And in this day and age, free's a damn good thing. As always, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm One Big Boss, and I will see you all next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you could give this video a thumbs up and a share, helps the channel out big time. Give me a follow on Twitter and Discord, where I'm most active. Links down below in the description. Also, I stream on Twitch, so if you'd like to see me play a bunch of new to retro games, well, click down below, give it a follow, greatly appreciate it. Till next time, guys, be safe and have a good one.